So this, yeah, I mean, really don't know what to say. I anticipate that this will be the last part. I mean, again, we went through all the extra Toga logs. Now we just need to go all through all these extra lane ones. Again, I don't think I'm gonna go through all the research tapes. Not only are they out of order, but there's also however many of them left. I just don't see a reason to. For me, the big thing is I'll probably call it after these lane logs. I didn't even really need to, you know, do this, right? Go back to site A and go through Toko's logs and Lane's logs. I'm glad I did because they kind of fill in on two areas or holes where there's kind of a gap in our knowledge, right, regarding Toko and, what would you call Toko and Takeshi, right? And what kind of happened before. But again, picking up Lane's recline, and then where all of these about Lane are on Masato, and I think I am kind of convinced at this point that Masato doesn't exist. But again, it's just something where it's like, yeah, we'll go through all these. I'll check out Site B if there's no change there. Probably gonna end then, call this series, right? Again, it really is just something where it's like, I honestly don't see a reason to go through all the banjo. There's more stuff inevitably, and there's bound to be, right? But again, something to where ever since we basically got that ending cutscene, I feel like we got pretty much all the story out of this, so I don't feel like there's much more else to go off of. So with that, right? Again, we can just you can just see there. So what gift did she give her? Remember, she gave her a gift at some point. I thought it was cookies or something though. What was it? Yeah, so I guess they don't even. She doesn't even know what it was. So honestly, hot take. Well, I guess it's let's put it this way, right? It's not necessarily a hot take. All right, I'll wait till I finish. Again, Masato, right? Convinced she doesn't exist at this point, but it's not really a hot take. It seems like a lot of people have this like are about the whole like I guess the male version of like what you call it, natty or whatnot, right? It's just like not using makeup as a female, or as like a woman, right? Not using any sort of like any of those kinds of products, right? So but yeah, it's not exactly a hot take because that seems to be kind of the whole trend nowadays. But like personally, like I don't even know where I'm going with this. Like probably like for me, it's something where it's like if you're wearing like just like lipstick, right? You know, and I don't know what it is, but I guess maybe it's because it like pops out more than or something. Even it's like gloss, right? I don't know what it is, but like that's just that it's like so attractive. Like I don't know. This is kind of coming out of nowhere, but I guess because they brought that kind of stuff up. But like nothing else like is something I particularly take notice of, but it's just for whatever reason, it's like specifically like lip gloss or like lipstick. I don't know what it is, but that's just what I guess does it for me. It was like attract or what I noticed. It completely like off topic and irrelevant, but I guess it's the whole cosmetics thing. But she is so who actually got the gift then? I guess is the question. Like it was just some random like gift. Like I don't know. And again, it's very interesting that we're getting because it's kind of near the end of Site A. So and again, notice how she's talking about Misato goes technological, right? But again, and also the thing I like to notice is it seems like any potential interaction that she's gained with Misato is kind of denied or something to where we can't actually see. So similar with what would you call it? Toko Rob, there's no real way to actually confirm her existence. And nearly every single one of these have been about Misato, so which is the most interesting thing there. And again, coming up with reasons to, because if she doesn't exist, she can't receive it. So very interesting. Again, like I like pretty much ever since that one diary entry, I was 100% like, because before I was kind of on the fence, and as you'll see in kind of like the black screen view I made, it brought it up, that one of the unanswered questions: does she actually exist? Right? The therapist, claims that, but again, we don't really know. So okay, but that can be like still her being delusional. Like again, I originally leaned more towards that it's funny because before I went back and went through those original Toko logs and went through what would you call these now Lain logs, I was convinced that it was completely one sided between Lain and Takeshi, right? And that Masato did actually exist. But now I'm kind of like the inverse. I'm like, okay, maybe, Toko and Takeshi had a thing, right? And then again, now it's like I'm leaning more towards that she doesn't actually exist. So we'll see. I wonder if there'll be more content in Site B now. Foreshadowing, right? But it's technically, she lives on through. Oh my God, I still can't believe that they pull literally the last Lane diary. They pull out the wire, the last one, for what I thought was not something that didn't exist this whole time. That like actually like they really got that. So I mean, I don't know. I really don't know. Here's the thing, and here's my problem. Would they go out of the way to draw a picture of someone who doesn't even exist? That's what I don't get. Again, maybe that's Minako. We know Minako just again Masato. That's kind of the discrepancy there, and why the again Toko was convinced she didn't exist. But would they really go out of their way to draw someone who doesn't exist? I don't know. Now I'm more. I really don't know. We'll see. I don't know. Now I'm more on the fence, and I'm even still on the fence regarding what would you call it? Freaking Toko and Takeshi. I don't know. It's again, I feel like I'm just gonna keep going back and forth, and I'm not really gonna answer or response to anything. So no, she was dude. Again, here's because and this is what makes this game like so much more like sad and tragic than the show. Is that in the show it seems like it was basically like fated or like destined that it would end up the way she is, but it really feels like, and again, in this it was just chance, that she had not, really an optimal counselor, someone that could actually, improve her and work with her, right? But then again, you can't. I will blame Toko, right? You can kind of blame her, but you also because again, she just straight up didn't care, right? But you also kind of have to feel bad because it was very bad parent. She was definitely, not ready to handle someone like Lain. Everyone this needs to look somewhat like them, you know. I don't think anyone expects, it to be perfect. Yeah, we still got Lain dialogues up above. Who knows? Maybe nobody. He doesn't exist. Hmm. そう、学校で美里ちゃんが男の子に呼ばれていたから、何だったのって聞いたら、見合ってほしいって期待されたんだって。美里ちゃんは全然興味なさそう。私だったら、ちょっと嬉しくなっな。告白した人、かわいそうに振られちゃったんだね。結構かっこよかったね。かわいそう。美里ちゃんって綺麗で、頭もいいし、モテるけど、私のこと嫌いなのかな。どこで描きそうな感じ。Again, this makes me think she doesn't exist now based on the way that, again, she was talking about Misato as if, what would you call it? That, the boy like asked to talk to her, right? Like, I don't know. Interesting. Again, that's so she says that as if, she doesn't even exist, right? Or as if she was confusing herself for her. So very interesting there. Yeah, it's just I don't know. It's just gonna be a toss up. Why the fuck is it the last term? Oh, freaking middle school puberty fucking. Hey, to be fair, it is what it is. I was, like, yeah, as everyone. By the time you're freaking my age, it doesn't matter. You've already been through it. So I was definitely well. Everyone says they're fucking slow. For me, it was weird because I feel like part of it is, I just stopped growing, right? I was like, why is my Xbox not working? Part of it's that I just stopped growing. But other than that, I was, probably like normal. Damn, shit. The heart's probably the body. But again, so anyway, that previous one, I don't know. It really makes it seem like she doesn't exist. But again, it's just going to be a toss up. Holy crap, there are a lot of research things here. It's just going to be a toss up. Like that's really what this is just going to be. It'll keep going back and forth. I don't know. It's just so weird. So weird. I guess we'll never know. This, or we already had one, I think. Shoot, I guess it's on the bottom. Isn't she? Wait, hold on a second. I was gonna say, freaking, isn't wasn't Lane the one who took art class? I guess how did they end up falling out? Because we know that she had a falling out with Misato supposedly, regardless of if she's real or not. Genetics. Hey, what? Hey, it's like hold on. It's like what are you like? What are you trying to say about your mom there? Like you know, yeah, it's like what are you trying to say about your mom? Technology. Well, I mean, you would have been her, right? That was kind of the whole point the therapist was trying to make. You're just in someone else's conditions, then you're effectively just that person, right? So, of course, again, but we never see the fruitions of that work, right? Something that's kind of important to, oh my God, something that's kind of important to note, right? This kind of the interesting thing to think about is if Misato isn't real, right? Then what is she, right? It seems like she's almost a representation of like Lane's like ideal self and what she views as though she couldn't be and why it's like a separate entity to her. Yes, it's interesting to yeah, kind of interesting thing to note there, but I guess who knows, right? Right? And again, no. But I guess the important distinction there is that her strength here is something that, you know, her skills with having computer, right? But something that she wouldn't have Unix, oh my God, like Linux, but something that she wouldn't have as an ideal version of herself. What are these sizes? What's that supposed to mean? In terms of what the opposite. I guess you could view Misato as seemingly just a, like it doesn't necessarily need to be, like Elaine's kind of ideal self. More so just like an opposite, right? Like kind of the antithesis to her, you know. kind of just who she fundamentally is, right? I mean, that would kind of make sense given what we've seen again, but it's so also, so let's put it this way. We 100% know that Kyoko exists, right? You know, she speaks to Toko. The only real toss up and or, oh, for what? Oh, yeah, opposite, right? Interesting. Now their main communication seems to be over the net. This is about when, what would you call it, that kind of takes over part of Lane's life there. So or I guess an origin thought is that she could be kind of like a doppelganger, right? Interesting. He could be like a doppelganger of some sort. So kind of like how you have the two versions of Blaine. Sato can be like another, version or like personality there. So possibility, but I mean, who knows? So and again, in that case, you just view that as like another side of herself, right? So, oh my God. Interesting. So I guess how Lane is a technological genius, and Sal is an art genius. Again, it's that's kind of interesting there. That's just something interesting to note, right? And I'm going through all from this one. I'm not holding off on any of these till the next one. And again, I guess okay, this would be like kind of the crossing of both worlds. Yeah, it's like it's interesting because I feel like there's pieces that go both ways, right? You know, again, that's the problem. Like, again, it's not like super. But I guess it does raise the point if there even is that possibility. And then based on what Toko said, wouldn't that be just enough to confirm it without going through all these? But again, we need to take consideration by that point, Toko is pretty much delusional herself. So. But point she brought up about Misato and Minako, discrepancy there still stand. Yeah, it's interesting because we know even if it's make believe, right, and imagining, they still have like I guess a quote unquote falling out. So how? Oh my god. So how would that ultimately end up working out? I guess the question that is raised there. So anyway, again, interesting there that they've kind of fallen out of communication. So I guess maybe regardless if we assume that she just doesn't exist in any like real world kind of what would you call it impact is by Lain herself, right? You know, interesting. Because regardless of whether you is her ideal self or like kind of just the antithesis or opposite to her, like any real world impact would still need to be done, right? So it's like it would still ultimately be done by her. So also just seemingly the fact that all these extra lane diaries are about Masato specifically, because Kyoto's were seemingly Kyoko, Jesus Christ, Toko's were just seemingly her about her before freaking what would you call it? About her before, you know, again, like she met Lane. But the facts that all of these diary entries are about Masato, if we didn't get much before, like again, like it and based on what Toko said, yeah, it's just interesting to think about there. I'd be willing to bet and go off on a limb. Like, I think what all this is trying to tell us is that she doesn't exist, right? And it's kind of Lane's like another again version of herself. So so interesting. Interesting. Again, I don't know. So yeah, I don't know. It could really be either way. I just again, it's definitely the reason why they're unlocking all these diaries specifically about her is again based on that, what was brought up about that and kind of it's like, after the fact. You can look and see like, okay, did she actually exist? Like what's going on with that? All the info kind of about her there. So gosh, but freaking destroy the sun wet. The name of Masato. I guess because like in the show we theorized that there were actually technically what three versions of Lain. You have her actual self, her evil self, and then the AI that is created, right? That or potential AI that browses the net or the wired. On this again, it's more complicated because if you believe that Masato doesn't exist, you need to be just a part of the lane. So again, right? Like what that ends up coming down to. And the question is, how did they copy off of Masato, right? Again, it's just again what's very interesting. I don't know. It's I'm hoping there's one that's kind of a definitive like answer, but it seems like we don't have that, right? I guess theoretically, what Toko said would be definitive, but and again, this right. I'm thinking dox these kids. Just interesting, really interesting to kind of think about because I guess we won't know, right? I'd say I lean more towards she doesn't, but again, because then that raises the question: if she doesn't, okay, then Lain, then who did all those things? Would it be Lain? Again, it's just it does raise that question. Like I'm more inclined to believe she doesn't exist, but that's kind of one question that raises if you assume that, and that's like okay, all right, so that's everything else for site A, right? We got all of the extra Hoko and then lane logs, right? So with that, we can change over to site B. I want to just see if there's anything kind of extra here. Starts us at the bottom. I figure not because it is just like, I mean, we did just come from here. So besides all these research tapes, like any non-research tape I'll look into if it's like a lane, like any sort of like, again, lab, like psychiatry, lane, or freaking Toka log, I'll look into it. But again, and yeah, it's looking like there's no change. I don't think I'm gonna look through all these research logs. I just don't really see a point. Something where it's like again, because then I basically just going through the whole thing over again, listening to however many. seems to just really be like sentences said by the AI version of Lain, because it is the AI version of Lain that these research logs are, or at least the data or whatnot, right? So, but again, it's just Kate said does look like that. Yeah, it looks like there was nothing else. So I think this puts an end to this game series. Again, I already made that last black screen video, right, which will be up tonight, which is the third post site V1. Really is kind of crazy and wild though, is it? But again, it's something to where it's like, yeah, I feel like again, there's like may I assume there's something if we do all of these, but it's like, is it worth the time when we it's probably something small. Like I don't think it would be that big of a thing, like because we already have pretty much the entire story. So I really genuinely do not know what it would be. Maybe like some like secret hidden thing, but I don't think it would be anything that would impact the main story from what we've seen thus far. So it's just I really think it's worth it. Maybe I just look it up on my own, but again, that's kind of the thing there. So yeah, who knows there, I guess, but we'll see. But we'll see. So anyway, yeah, but I will say, again, I very much enjoyed this, preferred this over the show, right? Definitely went in a direction that I did not expect it to go in, but it's still a good pair, right? I feel like again, one of I guess the biggest question was is this like a prequel or freaking parallel? Like it's definitely an alternate thing, right? Um, again, the big difference, main difference that I pointed out and noticed and or said right about this was that what would you call it? Was that in this it seems again much more like I guess I don't want to say natural, but much more like coincidental that Lain ended up the way she did versus the show where it seemed like almost inevitable that Lain would end up, doing what she did, right? Like versus this where it's like, is this yeah, so we're gonna go all the way to the bottom here. Um, but yeah, versus this where it's like, okay, it seemed much more coincidental, right? And it really was just a bad combination of Lain's mental, kind of psyche, right? And then like having a definitely not qualified therapist and counselor to deal with. So yeah, right. So anyway, but again, I guess we can wait for one more secret cutscene, right? Because that is something to where it's like again, been a very like fairly interesting with those everything involved in terms of like yeah, the secret also I'm curious like how many actual because they seem to be fairly common, at least at first, right? And then they became like less common for whatever reason as the game went on. So the big kind of question was okay, what's up with that? Like what happened? And then it's like okay, I guess how many in total are there? It's kind of an interesting question or thing to like posit. So yeah, at least in terms of that, right? Just fairly, interesting there. But yeah, what I will say is the next, now that I'm done with this, the next thing that I'm gonna do is a Civ game. Um, Again, I did one not too long ago. It was when I was taking a break from yeah. But then again, that one ended prematurely. Got back into it, finished it, did this, and now it's like, okay, I kind of want to do another one. Again, not in Louisiana yet, so I'm holding off on starting an art band, which the transition sort of process and my like transitioning to a different like line of work, next line of work is my current one is done at this point. That's why I'm able to record so much. It's again, it's taken a while longer than anticipated, so it is just like with that and the thing there is that again, it's something to where it's like if I would have known, I would have probably just started the band pretty much after, Blue Skies, but unfortunately, I did not. So, oh, hold on. One thing we wanted to do was go over the first counts section. So that's one thing we wanted to do there. So yeah, let's actually go and do that. That's the one thing we wanted to do that I somewhat forgot about. Again, where is that first counseling session? I think it was up here. It wasn't at the very bottom, right? So I think yeah, it's on the next level because if you remember, we started like halfway up. Well, not halfway, but I think these are the first labs. Yeah, we wanted to go through lab number one and then see that, right? So pretty sure that's this one here. So is it again, lab number one, right? Oh, damn, that's crazy. Because again, we went through Toko's first like actual log, right? I guess we can go through Lane's first log too, but yeah, we went through a ton of Lane logs, so it's like I want to do the first lab. Oh my god, just all the formalities. This is their meeting. Uh, and again, the same as her. Interesting thing you can even see here, her imitating Toko and the asking of questions, right, is something which is very much a core part of Lane's personality. But again, with that, I'm gonna end it here. We're for now we're done with Lane. What I was thinking, maybe I do the Civ game and then I can come back and try to do all the site, like all the research stuff. But at least for now we're done. This will be the last one. It's what part 20, and then I'll get back last video. But that's I don't really have anything else to say regarding that. So yep, that's it for this one. See you in the next one.